official.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cait Take podcast. I am so thrilled for you to hear from today's guest. Today, I am sitting with Miss Judi Holler. She is the author of Fear Is My Homeboy. It is a book that I absolutely love, and I have just loved Judi and everything she's putting out there. So, Judi, welcome to the podcast.
Holla, I'm so glad to be here. I couldn't resist. Yeah, it's so good to be here with you and with your badass audience.
Yes,
of
they are
listeners
badasses
and hustlers and entrepreneurs and mamas. And I can't wait to dig in.
Yeah. So before we dig in, I just want to give the listeners a little context of who you are and what you've been building and what you've been doing, because you guys, Judi is, I said this before we started recording, like, you are a badass, and you
So
guys are just,
you.
oh, thank you. So are the listeners.
Takes one to know one, right, girls?
Yes,
Takes
exactly.
one to know one.
Exactly. So I want to just kind of lay this out, you guys, because it's so freaking inspiring. So for the last decade, Judi has built literally this massive enterprise, and it includes keynote speaking, her business. She has a podcast in the top 15% of downloads on Apple. She's, like I said, the author of Fear Is My Homeboy, which I have referenced on this podcast before. You got to go put it in your Amazon cart. Her podcast, Yes And with Judi Holler, it highlights just like her professional improv training. She's been in Second City. She brings thought-provoking ideas and inspiring weekly interviews that just help your mindset. I love listening to it. And I think the biggest thing that's so cool about what Judi's building here is it just helps women take more action in their life. And it just always makes me feel, instead of fearless, just running into the fear, which I love that you help women realize, like, we don't have to be fearless. Like, we just have to take the action. So, Judi, that's an impressive list of things.
You crushed that. Can you just follow me around life and introduce me everywhere I go?
Yeah, I would
love to. And I have to say to you, Cait, like, I love that you pulled that out. I'm so happy that that was like a takeaway for you. This notion that we don't have to be fearless. And I think this is a great place to start with those listening, because it is all about taking action. That was like the biggest thing I learned in the improv theater. But here's the deal. I was reading a book on my honeymoon, a book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Have you read that book, Cait?
A really long time ago. Like, I should probably do it again.
Here's the trilogy. Okay. Is this episode going to come out before the end of the year?
Yes.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. You guys. Okay. So if you want to get ready for 2023, like a real fear boss, here's 3 books you could put in your fear fighting toolbox. Of course, Fear Is My Homeboy. Go read my book. Yes. Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Creative Living Beyond Fear is like the subtitle on that. So more on that in a minute. And then War of Art by Steven Pressfield really changed my entire relationship to my fear and with my fear. So back to Elizabeth. So guys, 3 books to get for the new year. It'll get you rock star ready. So coming back to Big Magic, there was this section. So I'm on my honeymoon, catching a vibe. I had just sort of quit my job and was getting ready to start my business. This is like 2016. Okay. So I knew I was going on this adventure. So I was soaking up. I'm still an avid reader, but I was, super hungry for books that would help me get beyond my fear, because my knees were shaking like Bambi. So I was reading Big Magic. I had my hot pink highlighter. Yeah. And I tell this story in Fear Is My Homeboy. And she said something in the book that forever changed everything. It has to do with the word fearless. She goes, I actually hate that word, loathe that word. She goes, I think that's the big problem. Like, everybody thinks they need to go be fearless. And I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, there's all this fearless swag and movies and books and paraphernalia, like all this stuff. And actually that couldn't be further from the truth, because if you were really fearless, you would do crazy stuff. Like, you never pay your taxes. You never go to a doctor. You'd eat lettuce with E. coli. You would freaking walk down dark alleys alone at night, like all this crazy shit. Right. And so she goes, and the truth is, the only fearless people I know are 5-year-olds and sociopaths. So no, the goal isn't fearless. The goal is brave. The goal is going scared. The goal, and really what I'm on a mission to do every single day, is to sort of increase my tolerance for pain, i.e. failure, risk, forward momentum, like all the things, even the tough phone calls we're going to get, right? Like we are going to receive news that we may not like someday. We can't avoid that. Global pandemics and things will happen in the world that we can't control, but what we can control is what we do next. So I'm sort of on a mission to really every day wake up and go, okay, how can I be just a little bit braver than I was yesterday? Because if I can do that, I will be able to handle the tough stuff in life and business that comes my way. So I'm like in the gym, and I know you got a lot of girls that love fitness. Like I'm in the gym, we're in Fear Boss Fitness, and we're working every day to increase our tolerance for pain so that when the tough stuff happens, we're ready. And let's also be clear, it is really hard to be brave.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy, which is why you need to lift weights, real weights, but also pick up the weight of discomfort from time to time, because it is hard to do. So, you know, you gotta prime that muscle.
I love it. And it makes me think about, so all of us women and people in the world, but specifically women listening to this podcast, there's a lot of moms on here and wives and business owners and, you know, part-time hustlers. And it's like, for someone to be like, well, just be fearless. You're like, that's one more fucking thing on my plate. So I have to be a good wife and a good mom and a good business owner. And now I have to be unafraid to chase my goals. Like, I just love how you frame this, because it gives the perfectionist, like or former perfectionist, like myself, always working on that. Like, it's not one more thing. Like, you can't be good at getting, like, you can't be good at it. You just have to freaking plow forward. Like those 5-year-olds, or I have a 1.5-year-old. I'm like, shit, this girl's never stopping. Right. Like, so I love that.
Before the world tells them that they're, you know, oh, you're too loud, or sit down, or, you know, be quiet, and all these things. Of course, we need to give kids order, and they need direction, and of course, discipline. But, you know, think about that. We get to a certain point in life, and all the mamas will get this, you know, and we've all grown up, but we've all been kids. So whether you're a mom or not, like we get to this point in life where we start to go, oh, I have just been made fun of, or no one's talking to me right now, or, oh my God, you know, and so I better dim it down. I better turn on that light, because boy, if I stand out too bright, then, oh my gosh, what does that mean? And I better just stay right here in this little comfort zone so that I don't, you know, upset anyone else. And I think all this is being so amplified even in today's world, which is a scary world to create in and be really yourself in and navigate, because you know, it's like the Wild West out there. But at the end of the day, guys, it's always been that way. I think now just everybody has a microphone, and everybody's, you know, got something to say. It's just now we're too connected and so connected. But since the beginning of time, you know, people, you know, that's just the I guess the trade-off for doing big things in the world. You're going to get people that don't like it. You're going to get people that may not understand your decisions. And so real courage and real authenticity is leading with love and doing it anyway. And it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it gets easier. The more you play with it, the easier it gets. But yeah, it's scary times. So this is why working with our fear and really building courage is so important, because you cannot cancel courage.
No.
I don't care what anybody
love that
says.
Yes.
You can't cancel courage.
Yep. Oh, that's so good. And it makes me wonder, and I'd love your opinion on this, because I have a theory, Judi, about people chasing goals and dreams and aspirations and why they don't do it. So I want your take on this.
I love this. Okay.
So I think half the time people don't actually push for a big goal or go for it because they're afraid that they're going to get it. It's not because they're going to fail. It's not because they're going to come up short. You know, I think people, they sometimes they try to, well, I don't want to give it my all. And then if I put the goal out there and I miss it, people will know. I think people are fucking scared that if they get handed the things they actually want in life, that's scarier to some people. So curious your thoughts on that. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Like, dig into that with me.
I love it so much. And that is at the essence of the book War of Art by Steven Pressfield, who wrote about it. He wrote about the resistance, which is just another way to say fear, right?
Yeah.
The resistance. And he's a writer and an artist and a creator, and got very famous, but it took him a really long time to get famous for his writing because he was in too deep with fear and the resistance. And one of the things he says, and I paraphrase, there's this beautiful quote on it, and it's essentially, being embarrassed or public shame or shaming your family or losing your degree or ending up with, making bad investments, like all these things that could go wrong. He lists this whole arbitrage of things that could go wrong, right? He goes, all of that's scary, sure. Embarrassing ourselves, being homeless, losing our money, getting sick, all these things, having people make fun of us, judge us, all this stuff. Sure, it's scary, but that's not the real fear. The mother of all fears, the master fear that's so close to us, even when we say it, we don't believe it. The fear that we'll succeed. Like the fear that will actually do it. I have goosebumps right now. And I love that you have never read that book, yet that to be
I'm going to have to get it.
So you need to get this book. It'll just illuminate so many things for you guys. It's that New Year reading, like get this book before the new year. It's so good. But yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's also a surrendering, because I think so many times, and I go through this, oh my gosh, I feel like yearly, because as my business grows and as I grow and as I transform and change, which, oh, by the way, you're supposed to, it requires a surrendering of who you once were, because what got you here today ain't gonna get you there, babe. Right? And if you want to go somewhere new, who do you have to become in order to go get it? And this could apply to business. So, I liken it to, when I was working in hotel sales and marketing, I knew that I wanted to speak professionally on stage. So I was like, who is she? Who does she read? Who does she listen to? How does she dress? What does she do on her nights and weekends? What podcasts is she listening to? How is she picking up the phone? How does she save her money so that she could go fund this dream? Like I was stepping into even my presentations at work, offering myself to do free speeches, sitting on panels, like already acting as if I'm her, knowing that's what I wanted before I was ready. Then I became a speaker. And I knew then that I wanted to be an author, because as a speaker, it's a really great thing to have a book. So mine was kind of the inverse. I didn't want to be an author. I was like, oh, I want to be a speaker. It's my favorite thing to do. But I knew a book would help that. So as I was a speaker, I'm like, how would an author be? Who is she? Who does she know? What does she read? What does she do? What does she study? Blah, blah, blah. What questions does she ask? Great. Then I became an author. Once I was an author, I was like, okay, what's the next evolution, right? How do I become $1 million speaker? What does she wear? Who does she listen to? Does she still walk around in socks with the holes in them? No, she's probably buying herself a nice pair of socks. She's taking the bubble baths. She's picking up the phone and making sales calls, and she's not afraid to ask for what she wants, right? And even now, as I've met a lot of those revenue goals and beyond, I'm thinking of the next evolution of her and where I'm going next. And I am acting as if I am her now. It doesn't mean that I'm not being authentic. I've never been or felt more authentic in my life, because I'm living in my purpose. But I am thinking about knowing where I want to take my business next. Okay, cool. What does she do with her time? How does she act? Who does she read? Who does she listen to? And so back to your beautiful point. Yes, there is a fear of success, because it means we'll have to leave some people behind and some clients behind. Some people won't get it. Maybe even our spouse won't understand, and it could change the way sometimes things run in our household or in our lives. Friends may not get it. Okay. But what got you here won't get you there. And so that is indeed the universal fear, because if I step into this full body version of myself, well, damn, I was comfortable back there. And now this feels a little lonely, and I don't know. And I've never been here before. So, oh my God, who will I talk to? And what if they don't like me, and all of these things? And what if it doesn't work out and I have to go back? And oh my God, the shame. And so we take ourselves down these loops of madness that just are so counterproductive. So I would say to the woman listening who really resonated with what Cait just said, this fear of, oh my God, what if I do it? Take yourself back to this moment right now, focus on what you can control, and be thinking really clearly about, okay, what is the next step I want to take? Whether it's maybe you want to finally start dating again. Maybe you want to get married and be a wife. Well, how would someone who wants to be married, who is she? How does she, okay, maybe you want to be a mom and you're ready to step into motherhood. How do you start acting how do you get yourself ready for that energetically? Maybe you want to start the business. Great. How would a business owner run her day? Would she set boundaries, or would she be always available? Would she be scrolling Instagram and sitting on the couch watching Bravo all night long? Or would she take a couple, no shame.
No shame.
Or would she take a couple nights a week to go read and become a student of what she wants to go do while the kids are sleeping? So, acting as if is a powerful way to fight off imposter syndrome, but also remove that fear of success that so many of us have. And oh, by the way, if you're afraid of the success, you're probably doing it right. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, Judi, I'm like, I feel like I need to, when I'm going to go back and listen to this on like a run and just be like, yes, yes, yes. Okay. I need to dig into this with you because it makes me think of something else. And you said in there, like complacency, like the idea of like, when you're chasing these next goals, you might have to leave stuff behind. And Brendan Bouchard, I heard him speak live at an event this summer.
He's so good.
So freaking phenomenal.
He is one of my all-time favorite, probably my number one.
Oh,
he's so good on stage. His stories. Did he do the story with the jumping out of a plane story?
Yeah, I've seen him do that one, but he's so good.
Okay, yes. He's so good. He's so good.
So good. And so yeah, get on the Brendan train too. Like go read and
it's the real deal. He's the real deal. Because you can follow someone online and be like, am I gonna like him? Is he too perfect? Is this too Ken Barbie? Oh no, he is who he is, and his story. Ooh, you cannot deny his success. It is incredible. He's earned every penny of it.
Yes. And one thing that he spoke about was the past few years and like the pandemic and I don't even want to go into COVID, but it changed the way that we lived and it made us go into a very empathetic space, which was needed. We needed empathy to be like, oh, this is how you feel. I want to like observe that, whatever. And his whole speech was on like, but that is over and it is done. But some of you are still living in this empathetic, complacent, safe bubble. And you've got to move on. Like it's time to act. It's time to go. And I see that all the time. I'm sure you see this with women you work with as well, Judi. They just are still stuck in this like complacent mindset. And how the F do we get out of that? Because I see so many highly qualified women who have dreams, they have the goals, they have the vision, they read the personal development, they do the things, but it's like, what is that gap? Like, how do we move past that gap? If it's like, yeah, I'm doing the things, like, what the hell do we do? Because I don't know if you see this too. I see so many women that I'm like, you have these dreams and goals and you're starting to do some of the right stuff, but you're stuck in comfy zone. You're stuck in being empathetic.
Yes.
Like, how do we just move?
Yes. Okay. So I'm getting out a pen so I don't forget my thoughts here.
Yes.
I have a few things here.
Yes.
So complacency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a place fear loves. What we need to understand, number one, is that fear has one job and one job only: to stop you. That's all it wakes up every day to do. Okay. But here's the thing. Now that you know that and you understand that, you also have the antidote: movement. So the easiest, most practical, tactical piece of advice I could give you is, if you feel stuck, if you are complacent, if you are making excuses for why you can't do the thing, because let's be clear, 99.99999% of the time, excuses are fear wrapped up in the skin of a lie.
Boom.
So if someone is making excuses, what are you afraid of? What are they afraid of? When you're dealing with your teenager, someone at work, whatever, they're making excuses. All right, instead of getting frustrated, talk to me. What are you so afraid of here? Right? We love to list the reasons why we can't. And the reason we do that is because we're afraid. Because if we do it, who will we become on the other side? And what if I fail? And what if it doesn't work? And what will they all say? So beware excuses. Excuses also lies in the dangerous word of grace. You know what? I'm just going through a season. I'm gonna give myself some grace. I'm just gonna give myself. Now listen, you're gonna lose people you love. You're gonna get a diagnosis. You're gonna have hard things happen in life. Of course, give yourself some grace. I'll give you a really perfect example before I drop the advice I want to share, the tactical advice. I moved my life across the country to Arizona. I live in Scottsdale now. I moved from the Midwest to Arizona, and we moved Memorial weekend. And so starting in January, when we sold our house in Ohio, I was just, giving myself some grace at that time, because we had just come out of a crazy pandemic and I was just rebuilding my business and all that. And then all of a sudden now I'm giving myself grace because I'm getting ready for this move and I'm packing and we're trying to find a house and the market's crazy. So I'm just gonna give myself some grace. And then we move and I'm like, you know what? I had just moved across the country. So I'm gonna give myself some grace and just let myself get through this. And then it was the summer. Oh, it's my first summer. I don't really know anybody and I don't have an office yet. And my stuff's all over the house and I haven't unpacked my boxes because it's 120 degrees out. So I'm just going to give myself some grace. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up early September and I was like, oh shit, my numbers are way down. I don't have the kind of business on the books that I need to have on the books. And let me be real honest, because I have been giving myself grace since January, I haven't been picking up the phone the way I used to, and closing deals and making calls and putting myself out there and updating my website and writing the new talk, because I've been giving myself some grace. So you may be moving through a season, let yourself move through the season, but remember, grace can also be an excuse wrapped up in the skin of a lie that gets too comfortable, right? And forces us right back into complacency. And then we wake up one day on September 15th and our numbers aren't where they are. And you start to panic and you wonder how you're going to pay your bills. And you think, oh my God, I'm going to have to start over from the beginning, right? We have to keep ourselves in the game. So my answer to your question is, if you are stuck, if you are complacent, the way I have found, how do I want to say this?
You can be
The
as honest as you want.
the tool I use to dig myself out of any hole is what I call beta bravery. So it is taking things in small chunks and moving forward in small ways. So micro moments of bravery every day matter. So we call these in our community fear experiments. So to get myself out of it in September, I was like, great. Every day I asked myself this question, and I used to ask this is how I built my business. I have 3 questions I ask myself every day. Number 1, where am I in my day? First thing, great. Where am I? Where are my goals? Where are my priorities? Maybe today it is a priority in my business that I need to move forward, but or maybe today it's where's actually Judi in her day, right? Number 2, what's the next thing I can do? Because I get really overwhelmed, and this is why we don't do anything. So, okay, great, Judi, you've just received a bad phone call. You've just realized your business has been shut down by COVID. You just, insert whatever scenario. Cool. Yes, that's happening. And what's the next thing I can do? Third question. And I stopped asking myself it, which is why I got into trouble and got complacent. Was this question, all right, how am I going to get uncomfortable today? So it's me looking at my schedule every day going, all right, here's what I have to do. Because, days change. So I may plan on Fridays for the next week, but every night I'm and certainly every morning I'm looking at my day and going, okay, what's changed? What do I have going on? What calls, what Zooms, what podcasts, all the things, right? And okay, cool. So where am I too comfortable here? What is one thing I can do today to get a little uncomfortable? Maybe if I normally am not on camera, I'm going to go on camera. Maybe those 3 emails that I need to send actually should be phone calls to my clients. Maybe I'm going into the office today, so I'm going to go introduce myself to the girl that sits next door because I've never met her, right? Like, could I go to lunch with someone new? Could I call my best friend on the way home because I keep kind of ghosting those text messages? Like, what am I doing? Like, because sometimes it's just even picking up the phone because we're so busy. We're like, I haven't called my dad in like 2 weeks. I need to call my dad. You know what I mean? Like, let me actually, instead of like, best friend via DM on Instagram, like maybe, my best friend said this to me the other day. She goes, we kind of got a little into it. And she goes, I just don't want to know about your life on Instagram. If something big is happening, I want to know. And I feel like I find out things on Instagram before I find them out from you. And I was like, damn girl, like, thank you for that. Like your inner circle. So are you checking in with your inner circle? And that could feel uncomfortable because you've gotten a little out of touch for a while and it could feel vulnerable. Right. So I think the way we get out of complacency and into the action, because that's the way to fight fear, is to just play with it every day, get uncomfortable every day, and always ask yourself, okay, what is the next thing I can do here? Maybe you want to write a book and that feels really overwhelming. Great. You don't need to write a book today, right? You don't need to run the marathon tomorrow, but could you go buy a pair of tennis shoes or a great pair of running pants, and get yourself in the game? Could you follow someone that motivates you? Could you start to outline what a book could look like? Could you like sit down for an hour and brainstorm book titles, right? Or go search books you really love. Like, what is that small thing you could do to push you out of your comfort zone, but get some momentum going? Because that's really where the magic is. We got to move. We got to move. Remember, fear wants to stop us. We have to move.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. And the thing that I think about with that is that complacency keeps us small. And then that complacent mindset leads to a lack mindset, because if you're not taking any action, then you feel like and then maybe you see this too in your business. What I see is people don't take action. Then all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to take massive action. Then they like get overwhelmed and then they step back, or they go into like, people can sense our energies and then they go into desperation mode. And it's like, making those phone calls because you're checking off 3 phone calls for a sale in a day is very different than all of a sudden you're like, shit, I need to make 20. And now you're desperate. And people are like, well, fuck this. You're desperate. Like, so it's like those little steps, and it's like, those add up and they compound. So I love how you frame that, because it's just, it makes it so easy, and we make it so difficult when in actuality, it doesn't have to be.
Yes, I love that you just brought up that, like, this idea of attracting, not chasing. But and we love to say that, and we love to talk about manifestation and all this stuff. But I don't think people really understand what the fuck it is, because at the end of the day, you can't sit around all namaste with like crystals and flowers on your head and fucking pay your mortgage, right? Like, we got to get shit done. Okay. So at the end of the day, here's manifestation, y'all, and write this shit down, because it'll change your life. If you want to manifest, I mean, and I am living proof of it. I am living proof that it's all possible. Okay. And so are probably a lot of the people you read and follow. And Cait, you're probably one of those girls too, right? So manifestation is giving your intentions attention. If you want to be a $1 million coach or a $1 million earner, cool. Give that intention attention. Again, who do you have to become in order to go get that? And that is going to require a surrendering of who you once were, because what got you here ain't going to get you there. And that can feel scary, but like, maybe your intention is literally just getting your kids, off to school every morning this week. Cool. And not losing your mind by Friday, right? Like, cool. Okay, if that is my intention, to be more loving and peaceful and not lose my mind on everybody in my house, how can I give that attention? What do I need to do in order to make that a reality? So if we're not giving our intentions attention, well, of course, how will it ever happen? And I think we have to pair that with gratitude. Because if you're not grateful for the $5 you have in your bank account, how will God, the universe, whatever you believe in, give you 500? Like, you have to be grateful for it all right now. All of it, because today's your legacy. We're so worried about the future, and that matters. Sure, save, do your investments, for fine. Everybody's got but at the end of the day, today, right now, this moment is your legacy as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a friend. It could be over in a blink of an eye. And so I think becoming really obsessed with the moment, and having deep gratitude for it, and truly saying, okay, what do I intend to do next? And how am I giving that attention, you start to really transform things. So great question. And I love that you added that on, because this is really good stuff for people to be thinking about, certainly as they decide who they want to become in 2023. Who do you want to be in 2023? And then also, what do you need to leave behind in order to go get her?
Yes. Oh, it's so good, Judi. You got to put that on a t-shirt.
So set your intentions for 2023, babe. Go set them. Get the fanciest planner, all the stickers. I'm obsessed. I have a planner. Like, I love all that stuff. Okay. But that's great. It won't happen. I have crystals all in my office. I love it. I go up to Sedona. Like,
I was going to say,
but if I am not giving those intentions attention, it's going to collect dust, and I'm going to be the same version of myself in, December of 2023 that I am right now. And I don't want that to happen. I want to be different. I want to transform. I want to transform every year. And that's what's exciting about it.
Yes. And it's so exciting.
You can do that. We give you like permission granted, babe. You can do all of that. You get to decide and then go give it attention.
Yes.
And then it'll happen. That's some real Cinderella shit right there.
That's the real story.
You have the glass slipper. Like, Dorothy always had it in her. Like, remember Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
Okay. So she was like, I want to get home. I want to get home. I want to get home. The yellow brick road in Oz will have the answer. Oz will have the answer. Well, at the very end of the story, come to find out, the good witch was like, babe, all you needed to do was click your heels together 3 times and you would have been home. To which Dorothy could have been like, are you kidding me, yo?
Yes.
I could have, but it would have changed the whole story. Like, Dorothy needed to go down the yellow brick road. She needed the characters and the angry apple trees and the flying monkeys and all the characters that made up that story to realize that at the end of the day, she always had the ruby red slippers. It was already inside of her. They were on her feet. So, permission granted. You are enough because you were born.
Oh, yes.
You are a gift from you, whatever you believe, like, we're born, which is a miracle in America, where we have endless opportunities to be whatever we want to be. And why waste it? Why waste it?
Okay. This is like leading perfectly to the kind of last question I wanted to ask you here, because that was like such a perfect analogy. I just love it. Thinking of going on this Dorothy analogy, because now I'm like, ooh, I've never heard someone use that as like an analogy before. I'm very into it. That road, she took all these twists and all these turns and all these paths. We could have called them failure, right? And, we could have called them failure. And I want to kind of just ask your opinion on this. And this is something that your book really helped me work through, but I want the listeners to get this nugget from you, is this idea of perfectionism is just also fear wrapped up in a pretty bow of like the perfection. I want you to speak to the perfectionists of this podcast of like, sis, you're never going to do it perfect, but you still need to take that action, because I think that just derails so many people that they're like, if I can't do it good enough, I don't want to do it at all.
Oh my God. Welcome to my brain.
How do we do, like, how do we move past that? And can you also maybe tell us a little bit too, in that, like you're one of your biggest fails, like what is something that you're like, oh shit, that did not go the way I wanted? And I don't know. Oh my God, many, and I'll have so many more, I'm sure.
So one of the biggest lessons I learned in the improv theater. So first of all, perfectionism is fear. It's a way fear masks itself to stop you. Right? Remember, fear wants to stop us. So it's fear. Knowing that is step number one, because then you're like, okay, cool. Well, how do I get around that? We got to move with it. We can't get rid of it. So, okay, how do I work with it? Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things that I learned in the improv theater, so I studied improv at Second City's Conservatory in Chicago. And so if you don't know improv, it is a form of live theater. The catch is that we don't have a script. It's comedy, not stand-up comedy, but we use training to succeed on stage without a script. Okay. So as I just spit all over the mic, like that was like, okay, we're talking about failures. Great. So we're just going to keep moving.
Keep going.
Edit that, if I edit that part of the video out. Okay, Second City, we have no script. So we use our training to succeed on stage without a script. And one of the things we learn is that, because you will mess up so much, in the improv theater, you fail, you bomb, you get it wrong and all this stuff. And so you start to build up your tolerance for pain, right? And so one of the things we learn is that there are no mistakes, only gifts. Like, so we would go out for these shows. So some of my most epic failures really happened in the improv theater. So many scenes that went wrong, so many crickets. I've fallen off stages. We have had nobody show up for shows. Nobody laughed, not even claps. Like, we've had so many epic fails, but they were awesome because we learned, like, we had a teacher that would actually, before every show, it's kind of famous in the improv theater that before a show backstage, you tap each other on the back and go, I got your back, I got your back, got your back.
I love
That's
that.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like, my only job is to make my other players look good. And
love
then
that.
When I do that, I go along for the ride, which is really great. But my only job is to make them look better than me. And imagine if we could do that in life, things would change so dramatically. So I got your back, got your back, got your back. And then one of our instructors said to us one time, and I never forgot it, he goes, all right, guys, tonight, I want you to go out there and I want you to freaking bomb. He goes, I want you to fail so hard. I want it to be so bad. And we were like, what? Like, here I am working in corporate America by day, hearing, be yourself, but copy me first, or do whatever you want with the presentation. But did you see my last email? I don't know if you can do that. Like, yeah, be yourself, but you have to wear a black suit and pantyhose. Like, I come from the hotel world. So it was like, be yourself, but like fit in a box. Be yourself, but fit in a box. Don't fail. Everything's got to be great. And, be careful. The boss is walking in. Everybody tone down, right? Like old school hierarchy, like old school corporate, right? Org charts and all this bullshit, right? Like, work your way up, just keep your nose down and grind, right? You know what I mean? Oh, you're just 23. You don't know anything about anything, right? Like that kind of shit.
Yep.
And so, but here I am in improv and they're like, fail. I'm like, fail? What does that even mean? He's like, that's what it means. Go out there and bomb. And what it did, it was actually one of the best shows I ended up ever having in my entire life. We got the most incredible write-up in the Chicago. I think it was in the Trib, one of the magazines in Chicago, about, our little ensemble at that time. But what he did was he gave us the freedom to be. To be ourselves, to get it wrong, potentially, so we could get closer to getting it right. And what we learned, that it was in the human moments, those moments on stage where we thought maybe it was like not as funny, or it was a really human natural reaction, or we made a air quotes mistake,
Yep.
those generated the most laughter because they were relatable.
Mm.
What makes art unique is not the art you create, but you. Because it is your unique perspective and twist on the world and the way you see things that we want. It's the way you talk. It's the way you look. It's the way you dress. It's the way you vibe. It's the way you orate. Like, people want you and they want the real you. And being the real you is the hardest thing you will ever do, right? Ever. As a 46-year-old woman, I am still towing the line, right? Towing the line. It is authenticity is a daily practice, right?
Mm.
You know, if everyone wants to go to happy hour, but you're trying not to drink, just say no.
Yeah.
That is being authentic. And that's hard. If someone asks you a question, you don't know the answer, it's okay to say you don't know. If you feel the urge to tell a white lie, stop yourself, you know, and speak your truth. And these are really hard habits to practice, but they're so worth it. So I think it's a beautiful way to close things out, because at the end of the day, like, being yourself is the most important thing you could ever do. And, you know, perfectionism is just, you know, the name of the game, and it's a way fear tries to stop you. But if you can adopt the mantra that there are no mistakes, only gifts, because at the end of the day, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to try something, start something, become something, and you will either fail or you'll learn.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or actually, you'll either win or learn. You can't fail.
Yes.
Edit. Right?
Yeah.
No mistakes, only gifts. Edit. So maybe we were meant to say that the second time, right? Like, that is the truth. Like, you're going to go out there and do something, and you're either going to win, you're going to crush it, or you're going to learn. Right? But you can't lose, right? You can't lose. So yeah, it may look like a perceived failure, but it's your perspective on that loss that really changes the game and determines what comes next, right? So you can either win or learn, but you can't lose. And I think that just sort of removes the power. So if I put out a new website and it's not well received, or if I write a book or share a blog post or try something new in my business, cool. It's data. It's freaking data. You know what I mean? It's a data point. Maybe it's a failure, but it's most importantly a data point. So I kind of welcome it. I love a good failure. I love a good failure.
I love that.
I love a good, plus guys, it makes great content.
Yes. And it's relatable. It's like you said.
Relatable. I'm a professional speaker. I do this shit for a living, and I even flub up my own stuff sometimes. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Great. Guess what? I'm human.
Yep.
Right? Like, I'm human just like everybody else. And so that's what we want more of in this world. We want you, and we want your stories, and, you know, all the tough stuff that happens. It's incredible content, and it's really relatable, and use it.
Yes. Oh, so freaking good, Judi. I could talk to you all day.
Same.
But alas, we can't do that. I do have two really quick rapid fire questions that I always ask.
This is like improv. Fun.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, they're really simple, but
okay,
what is your go-to coffee order? If we were to go get a Starbucks together, like, what's your go-to coffee order?
Oh my God. Okay. Go-to is a grande iced coffee with oat milk, one sugar, like a stevia packet on the side. And then I put a little bit of stevia in it. So iced coffee, oat milk. That's my thing. I'm nothing crazy, but, you know, this time of year, I definitely do if I'm going latte, I'm going to do a tall pumpkin spice latte.
Yes.
One pump, no whip, cinnamon on top.
Okay. I love this. Yes. Okay. I love that. What's your go-to workout pump up song right now that just makes you feel like you can freaking crush it?
Oh my God. Okay. Hold on. I just listened to it on Spotify. Oh my God. Hold on. Workout mix. Okay. First of all, anything Eminem.
Ooh,
I love Eminem, but there is this only hold on. Here it is. I just listened to it yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta work out to this song.
And then you just listen to it to death until you hate it. 'Cause that's what I do.
I know, it's so good. I can't find it right here. Why can't I find it? Uproar is really good by Lil Wayne.
Love that.
It's really good. But yeah, I can't find it offhand. I can't think of it.
It's okay.
Anyway, Eminem
Okay,
is
I
like
love
on
that.
my playlist, and old school Beastie Boys. I'm listening to like some of their early albums. You know, yeah, I love Beastie Boys.
I
too,
love
so.
that. I
Hip-hop.
love that.
Let's lift weights to hip hop, and I'm in the gym.
I'm all about that. And then last thing, if you could just sum up like in like one word, if you were going to leave, you know, your legacy, like when you're like 95 and you're an old lady and you're, you know, sitting there in your rocking chair, if you look back and you're like, damn, this is like the word to sum up my legacy, or like the legacy you want to leave, like, what is that? When you look back at your life, you're like, I did that.
Okay, I love that you're asking me this question because I have an interview at 1:00 after you, and that is on their long list of it's for Success Magazine. So they give you this like
very
long
cool
thing of prep, right? Like a little
Yeah.
nervous. And so one of the questions is, if you could leave a legacy, here's the
Oh,
exact way
wow.
they wrote it. I swear to God, Cait.
That is so
She
cool.
goes, if you could be a little different, but essentially the same thing. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be? Essentially the
Okay.
question you asked, right?
Yes.
Like, what is, that is like, so I sat with it last night. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what a question. And the only thing and the everything that comes to my mind is shine. So I want to know that because someone was in my orbit, that they felt confident to go shine as bright as they see me shining. Like, I believe we can't be what we don't see. Little girls can't be what they don't see. It's why I'm obsessed with sequin and disco balls and all that. And you think of a disco ball, it's all these pieces of broken glass that comes together as this magical, perfect ball of light. And you aren't broken, you are a disco ball, right? And so I want to leave the legacy that because I am, you are. Like, meaning because I showed up as my authentic self, it gave other women the permission to go do it for themselves, right? And I think we as women have to do the things. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to share what we know and help and write our books and get on stages and be mamas and put ourselves out there and ask for help, because how will anyone else, how will our little girls know what they can be if we don't show them? Let's go be the kind of women girls want to grow up and become. I hope that's my legacy. I hope I make the 40s and the 50s and the 60s look like a fucking certified bomb, right? That people are not afraid to grow up. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, Judi, you're already doing that. And it's been such a pleasure to speak with you today. And just, you are phenomenal and you are shining so bright. So where can my listeners go and find you if they're like, I got to get some of that shine, I got to get in her orbit? Where can they find all of
this? You're so good. I gotta go get some of that shine. That's so good. Okay, cute. So Instagram is where I probably hang out the most social media wise, but we're all the places. So Judi with an I, Judi, last name Holler, Holler. And then I've got a little thing, since we're doing this at the new year. I think so many women, and men, so many people don't know where to start. They overwhelm and they are stuck in the perfection. They are stuck in the excuses. They're giving themselves grace. If you want to get out of that shit and into action, use this code. So if you go to judiholler.com, my website /free gift, I know, super generic, but is easy to remember. You will get an instant download of the digital version of my goal focused planner. We sell these on my website for $50 and they're quarterly. So take it, borrow it, steal it, incorporate it with whatever you're using, but you'll see my prompts. You'll see how I structure my weeks. You'll see the questions I'm asking myself every day. It's a game changer and I'll give it to you for free. So it's a great thing to look at right now as you're taking what you do to plan and prepare for your weeks and your months and certainly the new year. Take those prompts and vibe it into your system, but at least go take a look at what we've built, because it could give you some inspiration and it will certainly give you a place to start. So judiholler.com /free gift.
That is so cool. And you guys go buy Judi's book. If you've never read Fear Is Your Homeboy,
and then
go get it.
Yes,
it's so good.
Fun.
It's one of my favorites. I always recommend
Audible
it to
too,
people.
if you like to listen.
Yes.
So we've got an Audible as well. And then once you download the free gift, guys, the gift on the other side of that too is the download. Of course I have a podcast and all of that, but my newsletter, do you get my newsletter, Cait?
No, but I'm going to.
Oh my God, we got to
I want your shine.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll get your email when we get off of here and I'll put it to you. But you guys, my newsletter is like a mullet. Okay. So it's a party in the front and a party in the back, business in the front. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm getting it all mixed up today. I need another coffee. Maybe I don't, because I'm already sweating.
Yeah.
I have no energy, right? But so on Mondays, I do a newsletter called The Keynote. It's super easy, like 300, 400 words, just like with a big idea. And then on Fridays, I send out the vibe check, which is 5 things I'm loving, learning, gifting, reading. It's like a big old party, like all kinds of fun stuff, not ads, just like, oh my God, I'm making this recipe. Oh my God, you guys, this book. Oh my God, these crystals. Oh my God, this sequin jacket, stuff like that. So we'll get to on that list too if you download the gift.
Cool. Oh, you guys go do all those things. Go steal some of Judi's shine, create your own to give to others. And thanks so much for being on the podcast, Judi, and listeners. I'll see you guys all next week on the Cait Take. Bye.
Ciao.